Hey y'all, welcome to my top 10 Scentsy Bar video. My name is Stacy. As a quick reminder, I do use mostly 25-watt and up Scentsy warmers as I am a Scentsy consultant, and those warmers are typically on for about 15 hours a day. I'd love it if you'd subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can stay in touch. Now, this all started nicely enough. I was happily watching one of my favorite channels, Bright House Scents, and she asked if we would like for her to do a top 10 Scentsy Bar video. And I, of course, went to the comments section and said, that sounds fabulous. And then she did an awesome job making that video. And in that video, she challenged us to also share our top 10 bars. That's when I realized the cruelty of the request and I began second guessing my life choices. So this is really hard for me. I think like most of us, I actually have like a top 50. So let's just get started with the understanding that there are a lot of bars that I love. This may be surprising to pick for a top 10, but you have seen me chop this in one of my chop-in chats, and I shared then that this is a bar that I find myself melting year-round, and that's true. And that's a big part of the reason why I felt like this bar deserves its due, and I wanted to give it a seat in my top 10. It's a crowd-pleasing bar. It's an aromatic fragrance. It lists as sweet citrus and lush botanicals, which I really don't get this as a heavy floral note. It doesn't read super citrusy. It's just an incredibly well-balanced, nuanced fragrance. And I find this is a bar that I'm very confident putting in when I'm having company. I've heard this bar compared a lot to the Capri Blue Volcano scent, and I do see the similarities there. I think they're both distinct and I enjoy both, but this is just a great bar and a crowd pleaser, so I had to give it a spot. Now we've arrived to a holiday staple for me. This is Christmas Cottage, and it lists with scent notes of Valencia orange, raspberries, clove, and spices. This had its own scent of the season collection last year, and I did enjoy that. I will say though, what I think makes this so unique very well may be the combination of Valencia orange and raspberry with the clove and the spice. So I absolutely adore this bar. It is a bar that to me feels like Christmas. I will melt it in my whole home throughout the entire holiday season. I love it, but I also do melt this year round when I need a cozy scent. Typically in the spring and summer, it would be more of a bedroom melt or a cozy office melt. During the holiday season, though, this will be blasting through my entire home, open concept, kitchen, everywhere. If there's a warmer at some point, Christmas Cottage is going in it during the holiday season. Next up, we have another year-round staple for me. This is Cozy Cardigan. It lists as soft suede, blushing rose, and amber silk. This is a bar that if I just read the notes and I never warmed this bar, I doubt I would pick it up. It really doesn't list with any notes that kind of strike me as amazing, but I find this to be absolutely magical in bedrooms. It performs beautifully by itself. I typically get several days of performance out of it. And I don't particularly pick up a strong rose note or a floral note. It just really does genuinely feel like a cozy cardigan. I also open concept warm it in my office and my closed concept living as well. It's just a beautiful, cozy fragrance. Another wonderful thing about this bar is when you match it one-to-one with Around the Campfire, you get a whole different level of magic. Next up is a bar that comes with the fire already inside. This is Bonfire Beach, and it lists with scent notes of toasted marshmallow, white flint, and sandalwood with salty sea air and ocean spray. My experience with this bar is a constant reminder to me to always melt your wax. So for me, on Cold Sniff, when I first got this bar, I didn't really understand the hype, and I set it aside. So I waited a while to melt it. When I did melt this bar, I was so enraptured. It is such a beautiful fragrance. In bedrooms, I typically get 2 to 3 days. It also performs really well in open concept and closed concept. And to me, it smells literally like you are just sat in the very center of a toasted marshmallow on a beach somewhere. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is also a bar that does age really well in my opinion. The color has some time turned on me, but it stays a beautiful bar and develops beautifully over time. And here is one of my all-time favorites and OG scents that I have been melting for just an incredibly long time. It's Silver Bells. This lists as minty candy canes, warm pear, velvety caramel, and vanilla sugar. What? Like, the scent notes on this one are just surprising, but the performance and the beauty of this bar is unmatched to me. I cannot imagine the holidays without silver bells. I also just cannot imagine not having someone hand to melt. It's a beautiful fragrance. It's very hard to describe. I don't feel like it's a minty scent. I don't feel like it's a pear scent. I don't feel like it's a caramel scent. I feel like it's silver bells, and I love it. And I just enjoy this bar. I also find this bar does age very well. I typically get 2 to 3 days in bedrooms in my closed concept, and I enjoy it for about one in my open concept. Now, this next one is 100% a minty bar. This is listed as fresh mint and chocolate cake, and I absolutely agree with that. I don't pick up a supremely cakey note. I think this was also in Melanie's from Bright House Scents Top 10, and she described this as much like an Andes mint, and I absolutely agree with that assessment. It is just such a beautiful bar. It's also a really strong performer. I don't have this one in my club, and this is one that if I had the opportunity, I absolutely would add to my club because it's just beautiful. It's a great performer. You do have to enjoy the chocolate and mint notes, which can be polarizing for some folks, but it's well worth it, and I love both those notes. Next up is breakfast in bed, and I feel like if you are a bakery lover, the odds that this bar ends up in your top 10 is pretty high. It's just such a great performer. This is a bakery bar that really holds up. It throws beautifully and for days. I get days out of it in my open concept. I get days out of it in my closed concept. Just absolutely gorgeous. It lists with scent notes of freshly brewed coffee, fluffy pancakes, and sweet maple syrup. I don't know that I pick up a distinct coffee note out of this bar, but I'd believe you if you say it's there because I do get a vibe or a sense that somebody's having breakfast in bed. It provides a warm, somewhat heavy aroma in the air that just fills the space completely with pancakes and syrup and delicious. And the maple syrup is not super cloying. I will say it is a sweet bar. You do have to really like bakery. Another bakery bar that had to make my list is Frosted Ginger Cookie. This list was scent notes of brown sugar cookie spiked with warming ginger and fragrant vanilla. This is an original melt for me. I very early on in my melting of Scentsy, I fell in love with this bar, and it was gone for a very, very, very long time. And when it came back and bring back my bar, I rejoiced, and I'm so glad that I have it in my club. As just a note, this is not a gingerbread scent, and when you see it say warming ginger in the scent description, it means warming fresh ginger. So the ginger note is quite distinct, but still beautifully complements the brown sugar cookie. It is a unique scent that I have not experienced replicated anywhere else other than in this bar. So it absolutely had to make my top 10. The only reason that it wouldn't make my top 10 is because of the years that there was a drought without it. I'm so glad it's back, at least for me and my club. I hope you snagged it. Next up is Cedar Cider, and this is a bar that is a surprise to me how much I love it given the rocky start that we had. Cedar Cider and I, the first time that I melted it in my closed concept living, and based on my cold sniff of it, I really felt like it leaned a bit softer. That's not correct. And I think I put 6 cubes in my closed concept. I could really do with 2 cubes in my closed concept and 4 cubes in my big old open concept. This bar is a powerhouse, and I love that. It's also a beautiful balance of the red apples, the cinnamon, the vanilla, and the white cedar. It gives such an elegant fall scent, and I just couldn't imagine the fall or winter, for that matter, without it. And last but certainly not least is cinnamon pine cones. This is a bar that I am really surprised that I included simply because of how new it is. I really was like, there are so many bars that I left on the cutting room floor, but to me, the cinnamon pine cones just won my heart and it kept it all year long. So I felt like I had to put it in the top 10. It lists as pine cones, fir balsam, and sweet cinnamon sticks. And it's just such a beautiful fragrance. One of my favorite things to do is to melt the cinnamon sticks in alternating warmers with cedar cider. Such a beautiful, rich fall fragrance. This is just one of those bars that creates a welcoming, beautiful vibe to me, and I can't imagine not having it on hand. Phew, we made it. I still have regrets. I can't believe I didn't include baked apple pie or pumpkin roll. I love them both. I had to say it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to tell me in the comments, what are your top 10